Thousands of years ago, empires ruled not just with armies, but with terror. Crimes weren't punished quietly. They were turned into public spectacles designed to make entire cities tremble. Some suffered slowly for days, even weeks. Some were eaten alive by insects. Some were humiliated in ways that lasted long after death. In this video, you'll see the most brutal punishments in ancient history, from Persia to Rome, from China to India, and the terrifying logic behind them. Stay with me, because what empires did to enforce obedience will shock you. In ancient Assyria, cruelty was not accidental. It was a tool. Rebels weren't just executed, they were flayed alive. Their skin was removed slowly, while the body was still conscious. Then the skin was displayed on city walls, hanging like a warning to anyone who dared defy the king. Assyrian kings recorded these acts proudly in carvings and inscriptions. They weren't hiding it, they were broadcasting power. One person's suffering was meant to silence thousands, but Assyria was just the beginning. Across the deserts of Persia, punishment took on a new form, slow, calculated, and psychological. Scaphism, one of Persia's most infamous punishments, was truly horrifying. The condemned was placed between two narrow wooden boats, naked and fed only milk and honey. Insects were attracted. Flies, ants, and worms swarmed the victim. The heat of the sun and exposure to infections slowly ate away at the body. Death could take days, even weeks. This wasn't punishment born from rage, it was punishment as strategy, to terrify, to control, to send a message. The Roman Empire, which many associate with law and order, perfected punishment as a political tool. Crucifixion was reserved for slaves, traitors, and enemies of the state. Victims could remain on the cross for days. Breathing became a struggle. Every movement, every gasp, a reminder of Rome's absolute authority. But Romans didn't stop there. For those who killed a parent, considered one of the worst crimes, a far more symbolic and terrifying punishment existed. The criminal was sewn into a sack with a dog, a rooster, a monkey, and a snake. Then, the sack was thrown into water. Death alone was not enough. The punishment extended beyond life, becoming a mark of shame and a story for generations. In ancient China, maintaining order was everything. The emperor's word was law, and disobedience demanded spectacle. Lingqi, often called death by 1,000 cuts, was designed to destroy not only the body but the criminal's reputation. The execution could last hours, sometimes even longer, with cuts inflicted slowly to prolong suffering. Families bore the shame, too. Justice was not just physical, it was social and permanent. China also believed that punishment had a moral lesson. The body wasn't just a vessel. It was connected to family honor, community trust, and the cosmic order. To punish brutally was to remind everyone that order could not be questioned. Ancient Greece, often celebrated for philosophy and democracy, also had a harsh side. In Sparta, discipline began at birth. Boys were subjected to rigorous tests, often public, to mold them into warriors. Failure could lead to whipping, exposure, or even death. Pain was a lesson. Endurance was valued above compassion. Athens had its own methods. Criminals could be humiliated in public, forced to wear masks of shame, or imprisoned in stocks. Even though Athens is remembered for its ideas of justice, fear was still a tool for those in power. Egypt, the land of the pharaohs, blended religion with punishment. Justice reflected divine balance, or ma'at, and crimes were seen as offenses against the gods. Tomb robbers were considered desecrators of the sacred order. Punishments ranged from execution to mutilation. Sometimes criminals were left alive but permanently marked to shame them for life. The philosophy was clear. Death was not the end. The memory of disgrace could last forever. Egyptians also believed in public morality. Punishments were often carried out in front of witnesses to teach lessons. Families and communities saw the consequences, reinforcing obedience and social order. In parts of ancient India, punishment was often a public spectacle. Elephants trained by handlers executed criminals. They could crush limbs slowly, allowing the victim to endure pain before death or instantly, depending on the command of the ruler. The goal was psychological, to show that the state had total control. Public executions were more than punishment, they were theater. Spectators learned fear, obedience, and respect for authority. This was not cruelty for cruelty's sake, it was control on a massive scale. Even beyond these famous examples, a pattern emerges across civilizations. Punishment was rarely about fairness, it was about obedience. It was about demonstrating that the ruler's authority could not be questioned. Fear maintained order where laws alone could not. And the most disturbing fact? these punishments were ordinary. Families watched, children watched, violence became normal, cruelty became routine, and yet, these were civilizations we admire. We marvel at their empires, their architecture, their innovations, but beneath the grandeur, suffering held it all together. Pain was the invisible thread that wove society into compliance. History is not only written by rulers and warriors, it is written by the silence of those who were too afraid to disobey. The lessons are clear even today. Power often depends not on justice, but on fear. And fear can be passed down generation after generation like a hidden law. Some punishments also show the darker side of ingenuity. The Romans, Persians, and Chinese all invented methods that combined science, observation, and psychology. From the physics of moving stones in Persia to the timing of cuts in China, cruelty was executed with precision. It was methodical, efficient, calculated. Even when societies claimed morality, ethics, or religion as a guide, the outcome was the same: control. Emperors and kings learned that fear could maintain peace where reason could not. And yet, despite all this brutality, these societies thrived. Empires grew, cities rose, civilization advanced. It is a reminder that human progress is never clean. Great achievements often rest on suffering, and the darker side of history is just as instructive as its triumphs. These punishments were not random. They were lessons, warnings, symbols. They tell us something chilling. Human ingenuity can create awe-inspiring wonders and also unimaginable suffering. Empires used knowledge and intelligence not only to build cities, pyramids, and roads, but to enforce obedience. So next time you look at ancient history, remember this: the grandeur of the past came with a price. Power was maintained not just through skill or wisdom, but through fear and spectacle. And the question remains: how far would a society go to ensure obedience? How much suffering is hidden behind the monuments we admire today? These stories are shocking. They are dark, but they are human. History is not only a record of victories, discoveries, or philosophy, it is also a record of pain, fear, and control. And when cruelty becomes tradition, it no longer feels cruel at all. If this story gave you a new perspective on history, don't stop here. Hit the like button. It helps more people uncover the hidden truths of our past. Subscribe and turn on notifications if you want to explore more of the most shocking, fascinating, and untold stories from ancient civilizations. Because history isn't dead, it's alive in the lessons it leaves behind, and it's waiting for us to see it clearly.